Hi, I'm Robin, and welcome to Well Conceived Business. We help online business owners within health and wellness to create a business and life that is not only well paid, but well lived. Here you'll find honest and refreshing conversations about what it takes to create a business around your life, what healthy hustle looks like, as well as insights and tips on growing your audience, your signature program, your profit, and your peace. Ready? Let's go. Hi, and welcome to Well Conceived Business. Let me tell you that this episode is a goodie. There is so much that I want to say and what I truly believe in my bones about what we are not told when we are trained as nutritionists, dieticians, naturopaths, nutritionists, all of those things, but what we really need to know in order to have a successful and thriving business. So make sure that you've removed all of the distractions, you're listening to me, but also I 100% know that I'm not going to be able to cover absolutely everything I want to talk about on this topic. And I also know, particularly as I was writing these notes, how nuanced and unique everyone else's situations are. So 2 things to say on this as we begin the episode. The first thing that I want to say is, if you want to discuss further, if you want to be like, yep, hang on, this is my business situation, what do you suggest? What do I do? You can always reach out to me on Instagram at Robin Birkin. Yes, if you've been following me for a while, you will notice that I'm just going back to having just the one Instagram account. Honestly, my brain could not brain between running multiple Instagram accounts. So this is me. This is where I'm at. It's at Robin Birkin. So feel free. Let's chat back and forth. The other thing, though, that I want to say is that I am running a masterclass very soon. In actual fact, like next week. It's going to be live. There's going to be a Q&A at the end, but it's also going to be everything that I want to say and more on this topic as well. And it's called Signature Program Success Plan. If you would like to join me on this, you could either reach out to me on Instagram and I'll send you the link, or head to launcheasylife.com/success. Register. It's going to be epic. It's going to be really hands-on, practical. You're going to see what this could look like for you in your scenario. So make sure you come, make sure you attend. I would love to see you there. So shall we dive in? In today's episode, I am breaking down everything you need to know about how to make 10K per month in your online business as a health and wellness professional. And trust me, as I've said, you don't want to miss this episode and you want to be paying full attention because I'm going to go into the numbers. You need to know numbers if you want to have a business, and especially if you want to have a successful business. One of the biggest disconnects I find in the online business world, and most of us, that's what we do. We operate virtually. We don't have offices or clinics, but this also applies if you have a bricks and mortar type clinic, is that we're trained as professionals, whatever you're trained as, dietitian, a nutritionist, a naturopath, an acupuncturist, and then pushed out into the world of business with this sense that we should be charging people for single sessions at, for example, $120 per session. Now, if you have a bricks and mortar clinic, the strategy is slightly different. That's more of the type of thing we talk about in the mastermind, but it's still really valuable food for thought about how to run your business and how to grow your business. Because the majority of online business owners who I've met and who I work with are building their business outside the confines of having 60 to 70 to 80 hours per week. So there's a lot of prominent online business owners who are like, well, I just woke up at 5 a.m. and worked until 10 p.m. every night, and that's how I grew my business. And good for them, bless. They were living on their parents' couches, and that's fine if that's the ability and the time and the life that you have at that point with that kind of capacity. But the majority of people I work with, we are mums building our businesses either during nap times or school hours. We are possibly navigating 9-to-5 jobs or roles in lots of different places. Maybe you have a bricks and mortar clinic. So the online side of your business is something that you run very much in part-time hours as well. But the majority of business owners I meet only have the capacity to work about 20 to 25 hours per week, if that. Struggle to even start at $120 per session. So there is a lot of, I love the concept of being generous and giving, and, especially because we come from the fertility world, knowing that fertility clinics are charging people ridiculous amounts of money, and that may be warranted, but feeling really guilty if you too are asking for money for your services. So a lot of people who I work with are like, I don't even think I could charge $120 per session. And also, a lot of people don't understand the numbers of business. And I wholeheartedly know and respect that. And I once felt that way too. When I used to look at numbers, accounting software, it used to tip me into fight or flight. And it's something that over the years I have grown to actually really love and enjoy doing. And I now religiously look at my numbers and would credit that in a large part to the success I have had. So this episode is what we're talking about in terms of what would 10K per month look like, and the math of how to reverse engineer your business in order to be earning that amount. So I guess where we have to start is why 10K per month. And the best, reason I can say that is, number one, because then that actually gives you a semi-sustainable wage in your business. But also number two, I think most people look at $100,000 per year as this first light bulb, big goal in their business. So that's why we're talking about 10K per month, which is $120,000 per year in revenue. Does that mean you should stop there? No, but that's also a really doable figure for anyone who is working part-time in their business. And I really want to break down how to get there and what you need to know in order to get there. So the very first thing, if you've been following me for any period of time, you will know that I'm so anti selling single sessions. I find single sessions to be very hard to sell and very hard to promise to people. So we've all grown up thinking you don't go to the naturopath for one session at a time. You go to your psychologist one session at a time. But the problem with that, actually, there's many. The problems with that is that, number one, I've rarely ever met anyone who has been able to deliver the promise of their product or service in just one session. The majority of people need about 6 to 12 sessions with someone in order to be able to deliver what it is they promise. So if you have an online business, as part of your marketing, as part of what you do, you need to be saying to people, this is the problem that you have. This is how I solve it. Any marketing concept is all about you solve a problem that people have, right? So it's not just like, come and see me weekly and I'll help with your mindset. Come and help me weekly and I'll help with your diet, whatever it is. No, it's come and work with me and this is where you'll be after. Like, this is the transformation that I'm going to support for you. Everybody has a problem. Not everybody knows exactly what the root cause of their problem is. Many people only understand this is like the symptoms that I'm experiencing that feel really unpleasant and I don't want to be where I am. I want change. So rarely have I ever met anyone that can deliver that in a single session. Yet we're offering people the ability to book in for a single session. So then what happens is, when that happens, they come to us and there may not be a bit of a disconnect between their expectations and your expectations of what can be delivered in that single session. And sometimes what that looks like is you feeling the internal pressure to get rapid results for someone that are like, mind blown, you've delivered so much, you've taught me so much, this is crazy. What actually happens though is they're like, they're overwhelmed because actually you've given them too much information. They leave the session, it feels like a whirlwind. They're like, no doubt they know what they're talking about, but there was so much I don't know what exactly to implement, what not. I don't remember half the session. And they're kind of left in paralysis because they're not really sure what to do next. Another scenario is it's that first session. How much can you get done on a first session when the majority of what you're doing is almost like exploratory? And then they leave thinking, oh, well, not much happened in this session. And just like the first session, they leave and haven't got what they thought they were coming for and don't book in. Or they've come for a single session, and at the end of the session, you're having to resell to them like, hey, come back again. Come, like, what's that going to look like? Which, number one, is a time waster. Number two, like, feels like you're selling all the time. Or you just straight up leave it in their court, knowing that they need to come back again in order to get the result that they want, but leaving it completely in their court. They may get busy, they may have life stuff come up, they may just forget and fall off the wagon. There's so many reasons why they may not rebook. So we're putting that in their corner and expecting them to rebook, not knowing whether or not that's going to happen. So I'm super anti-single session, but here's also why I am anti-single session. So for the case of this podcast, let's put some numbers on things. So what we want to get to in our business, let's say it's $10,000 per month, which is $120,000 per year. So the first thing that you need to understand about business is that you should not be, and it would be impossible for you to do this, you should not be taking 100% of the revenue in your business as your wages or profit. Profit, I find, throughout the online business world is a term that varies very significantly. And even some people, once you get to like a company status, people will take wages out the business, and then it's a bit complicated, but you'll then record a profit in your tax, but then take further dividends. So it can get a bit funny on exactly what people are earning in their back pocket from their business. So let's, for this case, talk about like what your take home pay wages would be, right? We run these businesses because we want to make a living. So if you are taking 100% or even 80% of what you are making in your business as revenue or as wages for you, you're doing your business a disservice. So when you first start your business, it may in fact look like the revenue that you bring in is all going out to expenses, mentoring, software, other professional services. It may look like that. That's perfectly fine when you first begin. But as your business starts to become more established and you start to make a consistent revenue, you ideally want that to look like 30 to 50%, which may feel low, may feel high for you. 120,000 may feel low, may feel high for you. It's all comparative, right? When we look at money and when we look at numbers, when we look at the price and the investment of things, it's so variable. Like what we think is expensive versus a great deal is so subjective. So the answer is always compared to what? Like if that sounds expensive to you, if that sounds stretchy, the answer is always compared to what? But what I would say is 30 to 50%. So let's assume that you have a really good profit margin and what you take as owner's pay is about 50%. Then what you're going to do is leave a portion for tax, leave another portion for expenses, and your expenses should look like 30 to 40%, probably minimum, of what you make. As your revenue gets higher, all of these figures change and like your take home pay becomes even lower. But at this kind of around about $100,000, if you're aiming for $100,000, what that's going to look like is roughly 30 to 40% owner's pay, about 40% expenses, and the rest might go towards, like tax, for example. And that's all, like you need to speak to your accountant about that. And I highly recommend reading the book Profit First. Bonus points if you listen to the audiobook. But let's say we're taking home 50% of that. That's $60,000. So as a yearly wage, if you are working part-time in your business, so let's, for this example, say that you can work 20 hours per week. That's like your max capacity of what you can work. And that's about 4 hours per day across 5 days. So if you have kids in school, that's a really good number that also allows you to do some washing, housework, go to the gym, have lunch, etc. So 20 hours per week, wanting to make $120,000 per year and taking home about 50% of what you make, which is a good profit margin. So you would be earning a wage/revenue of about $60,000 per year. Fab, right? Hopefully you're like, yes, fab. Or even if you're making more, earning more, whatever, then hopefully this allows you to grasp onto some figures that are applicable to you. Interrupting the podcast ever so quickly to ask you a really important question. What would you do with 10 to 15 hours of free time each week? And if that sounds absolutely divine, make sure you download my part-time profit checklist. It's an essential checklist to help you get more done in less time, a list of more than 60 things that you can eliminate, automate, or delegate in your business so you can reclaim your time and your life. If that sounds like heaven to you, head to launcheasylife.com/time. Get your checklist now. That's launcheasylife.com/time. All right, back into the episode. If you're selling single sessions, that's nearly impossible to get to. That looks like 1,000 appointments per year, or working with 20 people per week. So straight up, the entire 20 hours that you have to work in your business is just seeing people. Number one, it's actually really hard I find, to fill a one-to-one calendar and slot people into every single session and waking moment. So you'd end up with longer work hours. Sometimes, people cancel. You have to support people by email. You have to onboard people. There's no time to do any of that. And so if you're in the space of your business, let's say you are a naturopath and you're like, I just don't have time to show up on social media. Or you go through a quiet spell and you're like, oh, finally, I can show up on social media. And then you get really busy. And so then you stop showing up on social media, but you still have clients coming through. And you're like, well, it can't be related to social media because I haven't been showing up, but people are still coming through. And then 60 to 90 days later, it's crickets. And you're like, why was that? That's because marketing is a lagging indicator. So you need time, especially in today's economy. People are still buying. They're just buying from the people who are consistent and who are building the most trust and value proposition. But if you are like ghosting everyone, it's not going to show up immediately in your results. It's going to show up in 60 to 90 days in what happens in your business, right? So you want less than 50% of your time in your business to be dedicated to client delivery, right? So immediately, if you've got 20 hours per week, you need to have 10 plus, in my opinion, hours free to do things like market your business, develop new programs and products, refine the programs and products and delivery that you have for your existing clients, provide additional customer service that excites and delights people, answering emails, onboarding people, getting people, in through the door, doing bookkeeping, going to networking, doing professional development, engaging in mentoring, all of these other things. You need at least 50% of your time to be able to do that. So then immediately, if you are full, still you've halved the amount that you can take home. So you're at already $5,000 per month and you're tapping out of the capacity that you have in your business, right? So if we look at what can we do then to get better at that, and what the reality is that if you're stuck in single session delivery, you're going to stunt your growth as well because you don't have the time to do any of the things that you're supposed to do. One of the things that I think is so incredibly important is for us to really look at the season of life that we're in. What do we enjoy doing? What capacity do we have to do those things? And really cleverly reverse engineering, well, what does my business model need to look like in order to have that? If you are really tapped out for time, you might not have the time for multiple products, multiple funnels. You might not have the time for multiple Instagram accounts, multiple social media channels, all of these things. You most definitely, in my opinion, if you work part-time in your business, do not have a lot of time for one-to-one services. So for me, even my sort of max capacity for one-to-one, it hovers at around 4 to 5 clients per week. And I try to be really smart about the way that I do that as well. I try to batch those on days of the week, because otherwise what happens is you'll be serving everyone, you'll be switching in and out of tasks. It's really hard if you have like a 1 hour break between clients and customers to get deep into any kind of deep and meaningful work, like writing a sales page, developing a program. That's really hard if that's all you have. So really clumping together your one-to-one services so you can stay in that zone and like blocking off your calendar for other times. So you can offer a package. I'm fully supportive of the package. It means, number one, you're more honest, more transparent about what's possible for your clients. They have an understanding of what the duration of this is going to be, what you can deliver, and how that's going to look. So they get all of this beautiful clarity in the program. You get guaranteed revenue coming through. You don't have to pitch at the end of every session. So you can sell the package once and then just focus on being an awesome and incredible service provider. But still, let's say that you do an 8-week package for $1,200. So 100% yay for less sales. That looks like only 100 sales per year. So going from 1,000 appointments per year and praying and hoping that people just keep coming back, and then all feeling like you're having to sell, you go to 100. Less stress around sales, less pitching, better sessions, better transformations, but you are still so tapped out for time and so limited in the amount of revenue and profit you can make in your business when you are offering that kind of one-to-one level package, right? So let's say you offer that at $1,200. What does that look like from a one-to-one perspective? And if that looks like 8 weeks of coaching with weekly sessions, that's still going to be really hard for you to do all of the other things that you need to do in your business: bookkeeping, emails, networking. If you've got a podcast, having podcast interviews and inviting people on, being on podcasts from other people. So it's really important for you to say, well, what is the capacity that I have? And ideally work to, a quarter of your time to be spent in calls. So stepping back and saying, all right, well, what does that look like for me in my business? I don't want to sell 1,000 appointments or 1,000 products per year. So another big mistake I have is when business owners create products that are like $50, $97. That's great if the purpose of that product is for people to take the next step with you in your main product or service. But if that's the product, you are going to forever be selling for not a lot of revenue, in exactly the same way as delivering these like high touch single sessions or package sessions, right? It's just going to burn you out and keep you tapped out in terms of revenue and feeling like you're always selling. So having a look at that sweet spot, and this is my superpower. This is a spot that I love. So whether you're starting or whether you're established and like, I need to take a step back from one-to-one, what I love is a signature program. And I know that there are lots of other people within health and wellness who are like, offer a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 package. I find that a really hard proposition for people who are marketing to the general consumer as opposed to other businesses. For business expenses, yeah, sure, that's fine. But for people who are marketing to direct to consumer, like you're marketing to Betty who is trying to conceive, or Angela who has anxiety, If that's you, I find it a hard proposition to pitch a $5,000 product. I love the price points of like 500 to about maxing out at about 2,000, right? What happens when you have a product that's in that price range? You don't need to do discovery calls. You can have people straight up go to checkout, right? So you save time there. What you also can do, and creating something that is online course based, which is what I'm talking about, doesn't mean you can't offer one-to-one services. You can, but you can be really savvy and sophisticated in the way that you do that. So you might offer them a single session upfront. I find that it's a beautiful way to get to know people and to see like what's going on with them. So you can offer a single session and then some group sessions potentially after, or you could offer like an intro session and then a midway session, but then really strategically shift to making the rest of what you provide automated, but still personalized, and then mainly online course based. So whether that's through text, through video, or whatever that might be, to help someone get the result that they want. So if you are then selling this at $997, same way, we only need to make about 120 sales per year, but you have dramatically decreased the amount of time that you are spending in delivering your programs and services. That enables you to make a sustainable income and revenue in your business, but it also allows you to spend time on social media, spend time creating and developing a podcast, spend time developing and improving your products and services, spend time networking to grow your audience. You all of a sudden free up time for life, for growth, for all of the things that maybe you've been dreaming of doing for the longest time but haven't had the chance to do. So I find signature programs and signature courses the freaking bee's knees. And if we step even further into not wanting to burn out, not wanting to hustle, not wanting to sell all the time, the way that I grew my life coaching business to $100,000 and more per year was my program was almost exclusively $497. We then added some little sophisticated levers on there. We had some upsells, etc. But by and large, I had about 25 people join my program each launch. I just launched 4 times a year, rinse and repeated my assets. So I didn't have to sit there and create new webinars or anything like that. It was largely rinsed and repeated. And I could mostly then in between those launches, just focus on growing the podcast, just focus on showing up on Instagram, just focus on jumping into the community. And at that time, I only had like 1, we later increased it to 2 calls per month. There was no one-to-one welcome calls for a long time there. And that was how I rolled. That was exactly how I ran my business in 6 hours per week. Because I launched, I did these mini kind of launches, easy breezy launches. I wasn't aiming for $100,000 launches with huge volumes of people that I might not have had the capacity to support. I just did little launches, rinse and repeat launches really frequently. And if that's something that you would like to learn more about, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, come and join me for this live masterclass where I'll break down exactly what it might look like for you. You know, circle back to some of the stuff that we've talked about on this podcast, but really mapping out what's possible for you, whether you are at 0 starting point or whether you're already making, significant revenue in your business, but you're tapped out from one-to-one and you're like, Marath, there's got to be an easier way, whatever that looks like for you. Come and join me, launcheasylife.com/success. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be live and there'll definitely be lots of time at the end for Q&A. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Bye for now. We are done with the meat and potatoes of this episode, but I am not letting you go just yet, my friend. Before you jump off, I have 3 quick things that I would love to share with you. Number one is thank you so much for listening today. If you'd like to hear more about growing your visibility through Instagram, podcasting, or Pinterest, creating or launching or growing your signature program, automations, or many more online business nuggets of gold, pause now, hit that subscribe button because we are here for you weekly. Number two is if you would like to learn more about working with us and joining our signature program, the Well-Conceived Mastermind, which is unlike any mastermind you've seen before, check out our show notes below and you will find all the links to join the waitlist or sign up and join the mastermind now. And number three, lastly, if you do nothing else, make sure you come and find us on Instagram for daily behind the scenes and hugely savable and value-packed content. You will find us at Launch Easy Life. Well, that's it from me today. Now go out there and create your well-paid business and your well-lived life.